Welcome in to the inaugural edition of the All Clemson Tigers radio show. I am Zach. He is Jason. So, Jason, how excited are you to get to do this every day?
I always like jumping in front of a camera, man. That's not my forte at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
I am very much looking forward to this.
Yeah, this is something that I have looked forward to, for a while, and logistically it hadn't worked out. Now it does, and we are so excited to talk Tigers with y'all every single day. So there are a couple of ways that you can join the conversation. First, if you want to comment on Facebook or YouTube, that's great. Also, you can text us at 864-643-5336 and get on our text line. Look, we have stuff that we're going to talk about each day. However, this is a show that's going to be driven by you, the fans. So we have tons of stuff to get into. Jason, are you ready for camp to start on Friday?
Yeah, I'm counting down the days. Always ready for football season to start. I kind of have, for me, the ACC kickoff kind of signifies the start of the season. Really, but it doesn't really get going until you get out there at fall camp. You get those guys back doing workouts and stuff, and they let us in to look at a little bit of it. That's when it really gets going, and I'm extremely excited to get back up there this week. It's time for me to get out the house for a few days, anyways.
Yeah, I think your wife may want you out.
Hey man, my wife's a good sport, man. She is a very good sport.
Yeah,
about how much I'm going sometimes.
Yeah, she is. Well, I was gonna say, you said football season starts, for you at ACC kickoff. Does it ever really end? I mean, you're covering, the recruiting side of things for us over at the site. I mean, it's a 24/7 grind, isn't it?
Yeah, it since I started doing the recruiting stuff, yeah, it really, I kind of have two modes, man. I go into football mode come late summer to fall, and then once the season's over, it's kind of full recruiting mode. So it never stops, but it's kind of two different modes. This summer hasn't been quite as hectic as last summer was, but you're right, man. It never stops. It's there's always something. Kind of looking forward to a little bit of a dead period here in the recruiting.
Yeah. Well, let's dive into today's show. And as always, we want you to join in the conversation. So let's start. There has, been just a small, just a tiny smidgen of some rumors going around, regarding Clemson and Florida State, and whether or not they are headed out of the ACC into the Big Ten. I mean, let's just start off with your initial thoughts on this. If anybody watched, your show last night, they got a little taste of what you think. I want our midday, fans here to kind of jump in and let us know, where does Jason Priester stand on this?
I don't think Clemson can stay in the ACC long term. We've all seen the rumors over the past week. Clemson, Florida State, Oregon, Washington, whoever to the Big Ten. And some people think it's coming as early as today. There's supposedly a deadline of August the 15th, where you have to announce. Seen some chatter down coming from Tallahassee about that August 15th deadline.
Oh, hang on. All right, we have some breaking video of Florida State and Clemson, in a conversation to the ACC. Let's see here.
Show me the money. Look at it taking too long. I took a long overfloss, but still got a knock. Jerry, does that make you feel good just to say that? Say it with me one time, Jerry. Jerry, here's the money. Oh, no, you can do better than that, Jerry. I want you to say it with me, brother. Hey, I got Bob Sugar on the other line. I better hear you say it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that is them right now. Yeah, show me the money.
Absolutely. You look at what the ACC has from a television contract perspective, and you look what the SEC and the Big Ten's fixing to get. You're not set up for long term success under that model. It's just not sustainable. There's no way you're going to be able to compete. A decade from now, sure, you can make it work for a few years probably, but when you start talking 10 years down the road, when you get closer to the end of that ACC television deal, you're going to be looking way up at teams like Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, Florida, Tennessee, name it. You name it. You're going to be looking way up at those guys. They'll have far more money to invest in coaching staffs, recruiting budgets, facilities. And I know, IPTAY does a great job of raising funds, set all kinds of records last year. But it can't make up for that kind of revenue gap year after year after year after year. I mean, there's some people that think the Big Ten teams might be getting as much as $100 million a piece. I went back and read over it last night. Once they get into that deal, it's expected that those schools are going to be getting $80-90 million per, maybe even upwards of 100. Clemson's going to Florida State. Those guys kind of sit there stuck on $40 million. That is just such a gap. It's hard to even wrap your mind around how you compete with that kind of revenue gap. If you look around at what Clemson's been doing the past 12, 18, 24 months, it kind of, if you're looking towards the future, it kind of screams Big Ten to me. That's just me. I might be way wrong about that. But there's some things that have gone on. You look at the sports they've added. Women's lacrosse, gymnastics. The SEC doesn't even have men's soccer, one of Clemson's more storied programs. You look at that dental school that's fixing to open, some of the things they've done to improve their academic standing. It just screams Big Ten to me. And I know that's not the popular opinion among a lot of fans, but that's just what I see.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, from a travel standpoint, you're talking about, going to USC, UCLA, Michigan, Ohio State, Iowa State. I mean, hell, the closest team to Clemson would probably be Maryland.
I think the closest one's about 8 hours, if I'm not mistaken. So it would definitely be different from a travel perspective.
Yeah, and like you said, it's the money, and this whole thing is running down to money, because you're living in the era where eventually there is not going to be 6 or 7, 8 conferences. You're ultimately going to have 4 super conferences, and those conferences are going to drive everything. And you can't be stuck in the past, especially when you're talking about billions of dollars, not just millions. You're talking about television deals, rights, NIL, all this stuff, to where you can't, if you're Clemson, you can't be just stuck in the mud. The ACC has a place in the history of college basketball and football, but honestly, that time is coming to an end. So,
yeah, it absolutely is. And we might be heading towards more 2 super conferences. When we get down right down to it, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with the Pac-12 if a couple more of those teams leave out of there and what's left. And I just don't. And I don't know what to make of the Big 12 right now. You know, you look at some of those teams they've
They're,
added.
they're a shell of what they used to
Yeah,
be.
I mean, is that what we really want to call a power conference? I'm not sure that's what I would view as a power conference. I mean, that's just me. But if you're not in one of those two big boy leagues, 10 years from now, you're probably going to be in trouble.
Yeah, I mean, I have heard, things about lawsuits that ESPN and Disney could file. You know what? The fact is, the ACC has screwed Clemson and FSU for so long that I'm surprised that anyone either of those schools can walk straight. Because I mean, the amount of money that they have lost by remaining loyal in this conference is insane. They had chances to get out earlier, and they stuck, by the league side. And to me, the time for loyalty is gone. Jim Phillips is honestly, he could be worse than Stafford as far as a commissioner. And so the idea that he is going to do what's in the best interest of Clemson or FSU is a joke.
Yeah, I don't know what he can do. I mean, I think the ACC's kind of backed into a corner here with really no moves to make. I mean, what you going to do? Add App State, add UConn? That's not moving the needle at all. That's going to cost you money. Nobody's. They're not drawing eyeballs. Clemson went in. I mean, not Clemson, but the ACC kind of went all in on Notre Dame, hoping they were going to join, and they're not going to. Man, they're not coming in here to see anybody.
No.
It's not happening.
Why would they? I mean, look at the money they get from NBC. I mean, they have absolutely zero reason to ever join a conference. And honestly, if you think that they should join a conference, then you're an idiot. Because they have zero reason to do it from a monetary standpoint. And from a source standpoint, they get to pick and choose who they play. So honestly, them joining a conference is not going to happen. And Stafford, he had. Honestly, I will say this: he had a chance in 2020 to grab Notre Dame, by the sack and say, look, you want to play in our league this year? Fine. But you're going to do it every other year. And instead of doing that, he let them have their way. And look where we are now.
Hey, it would have been very interesting to see how it played out had he held their feet to the fire and say, hey, if you want to play with us this year, you're going to play with us every year. It'd have been very interesting to see how that played out. I tend to lean towards thinking they might not have played, but yeah, Notre Dame just values that independence. Like you said, why would they want to join a conference? They have total control over their scheduling. They don't share revenue with anybody, and they still have complete access to the playoff. There is no incentive to join a conference, and they will never join one until somebody forces their hand.
And if you're going to join one, why the hell are you joining the ACC right now?
And not only that, I know they're contractually obligated to join the ACC if they join a conference. But from my understanding, it wouldn't take much to get out of that. I wouldn't call it a ginormous check, but write a little big little check there, and you're done, and you can go wherever you want to go. They can get out much easier, not tied in with the grant of rights or anything. So you'll never see Notre Dame in the ACC, and I think that's what John Swofford was banking on, and it just never was going to happen.
Absolutely. Here's a question. Anything you can tell us about the All-In Cookout?
The Cookout is not the recruiting event that it once was. That's kind of move to that big official visit weekend, that first weekend in June when they bring a bunch of uncommitted targets in and give them the big pitch and all that stuff. The cookout last year and this year, since they started doing those big official visit weekends in the summer, it's been more about getting the committed guys back on campus and one more time before their season starts, give them another chance to bond and all that good stuff. And I think last year there was 2 uncommitted guys that came in. There was 1 this year. Linebacker Bradley Shaw. He finally announced his offer, yesterday, late yesterday sometime. 4-star linebacker out of Alabama. I might be wrong about that, but we'll see if Clemson gets him in here for a visit in the fall. The dismissal of TJ Dudley, absolutely means Clemson needs to take another linebacker now. They were always open to taking a third. Obviously, they've already got Drew Woodass, Sammy Brown on board, but they were always open to taking a third. Now you have to take a third, and his offer shows they've kind of widened the net. Wyatt Simmons was a guy that's had an offer. No idea what's going to happen with him. Doesn't do much media. A guy that kind of came out of nowhere, really. Nobody heard of him a year ago. But there is some thinking that he might make a decision before the summer. Nobody knows for sure. Auburn's probably your biggest competition for him. That's just a guess. Like I said, he's hard to get a good read on. We'll see what happens with Shaw, though. Coming out of the cookout, he's really the only name to know right now.
Yeah, the only news I have about the cookout is that smoking pig was served. So if you're asking what they ate smoking pig. So that is in depth on the recruiting side as I can get. Jason, you are the man when it comes to this stuff, and you can catch everything that he has going on ClemsonTires.com, as well as Monday Night Live, his show where he talks all things recruiting, all things Clemson. So let's keep this rolling here, all right? So the ACC just announced their preseason poll. So I want to know, how do you have this list, Jason? Do yours look anything like this? Are you one of those guys that stuck by the Tigers, or are you buying the FSU, riding that train?
No, I am not buying the FSU hype. I'm not saying they're not going to be any good, but I'm not buying them as this top 5 program right now. I did pick them second behind Clemson. I picked Clemson first. But no, I'm not buying the FSU hype. It's going to be interesting to see, let's say they drop that opener to LSU. This is a team that there's a lot of pieces came in through the portal. They've not been through the fire yet, not really had a lot of time to gel. You drop that game to LSU, then you come to Clemson there on the 23rd of September, and so you drop that one too, and you're sitting there at 2-2. Let's see how that team responds then, with all these expectations on their shoulders that they're not used to carrying, because they are coming into the season with a ton of expectations. I mean, I think they're going to be good, but I just don't think they're going to take this massive jump the way it's being projected by some in the media. A lot of this is coming off of that winning streak they had to end the season last year. And they didn't beat anybody, man.
That's what I was about to say. I mean, come on. You be the Sisters of the Poor and South Florence and South Carolina School for the this is not a team that is top 5. And like you said, I am anxious to see after they lose to LSU how this team is going to hold together. Because this team, look, if there is one thing that Dallas Swing has always done is surround himself with guys that believe in the culture. And honestly, I don't see how you can do that when you just bring a a bunch of guys from other schools who weren't happy there. I mean, that's the thing about the transfer portal. You sit here and you think about it, you're like, all right, so why did you leave high school? Well, I wasn't getting playing time, or I didn't like the coach. I mean, so the second that adversity hits, what are you going to think they're going to do? They're going to, pack it in because that's what they have shown that they do. Quitters always quit, and as you can't change a tiger's stripes. And so I fully believe that FSU is overrated. I still have them second. I think that they will lose to Clemson twice this season in the game at Death Valley and then again in the championship. But this is a team that, I can Norvell, you can't, build programs out of the transfer portal.
No, I don't think you can build your program that way either. I think they went all in on this team this year through the transfer portal, hoping that it translates into success on the field and that it leads to better recruiting from the high school ranks, in future classes. That's kind of been my take on this thing. And like we both said, it's going to be interesting to see what happens if they drop a game or two early, see how they respond. I just don't buy it. I think Jordan Travis is a heck of a football player.
Yeah, he is.
They've got talent at the skill positions. I'm not saying they're I'm not saying they're a bad team. I'm just not buying they're a top 5 team the way they're being propped up to be at this point.
Yeah, I completely agree. In fact, if we are going to skip ahead just a second, I actually have Jordan Travis as my player of the year.
So do I.
He is a hell of a quarterback. He is a great leader. The thing is, though, it's the intangibles. It's the camaraderie. It's the closeness that you build. And so I assume they'll lose to LSU because of the culture. The culture at FSU is not good. It hasn't been good in years and years. I mean, Jim Fisher started that train wreck, and it continued through. Who is the coach after Fisher?
Taggart.
Yeah. Willie Taggart, who continued that program into the dumpster. And look, Norvell is a hell of a coach. He did great things in Memphis. But the answer is not the transfer portal. All you have to do is look at Michigan State as an example of that.
I see a comment in here saying they're recruiting better than Clemson. They're ranked a little bit ahead of Clemson right now, but if you go and look at the average star rating, they're not ahead of Clemson. It's because they've got more guys committed than Clemson does at this point. Clemson actually has the more talented class.
Yeah, and see that's why you have a guy like Jason on your staff, because he knows that stuff. He comes with it. Yeah.
Hey, they got some dudes in this recruiting class. Don't get me wrong, but recruiting rankings don't always tell the whole story.
And also, let's kind of step back just a second and talk about the recruiting classes and how they're ranked. I mean, obviously, different years, you have different needs as a program. So, if you're out there recruiting a bunch of O-linemen and, maybe not as high profile positions as quarterbacks, receivers, running backs, DNs, could that skew the rankings a little bit? Because, I always liken it to the NFL draft where I say, it's not about the player and the position that he goes, because, you might have 10 guys that are better overall players than this guy, but these teams are trying to, nail down specific needs. And so, does that play a factor in these rankings when you're looking at, star ratings and just overall rankings?
Maybe a little bit. I'm not a big star ratings guy to begin with. You don't hear me mention stars very often, and there's a reason for that because the whole system's flawed. A lot of it depends on where you camp at.
The only stars you use are sunglasses.
That's right.
That's our idea.
Hey, look,
Yeah.
I think Florida State's put together a hell of a class. Don't get me wrong, man. I think Florida State's going to be good this year. What I'm saying is I ain't buying that they are a top 5 team, and I don't think they're better than Clemson right now. I just don't. You say I got their quarterback as ACC Player of the Year. I voted Tyler Van Dyke as ACC preseason Player of the Year last year. I didn't think I meant Miami was going to win the league. I just think that he's a great quarterback. I think Florida State's probably a 10-win team this year. I mean, they're talented. I'm just not buying they're a top 5 team the way so many people are propping them up to be right now. I just got to see it to believe it. Maybe they are. I might be, and it wouldn't be the first time I'm wrong, I think that's going to be a hell of a battle in Clemson come September. I think they've got that game circled on their calendar after the way last year's played out. I think they've got some revenge on their mind. They've not beaten Clemson in a while. I just don't think they're a top 5 team for that matter. I'm not sure Clemson's a top 5 team. So, I mean, I just don't think they've passed Clemson yet. We'll see.
Yeah, and to your point, I had Devin Leary as my ACC Player of the Year last year. And hell, you think I thought NC State was going to win the conference? No. And honestly, this is all speculation at this point. I will say this. You have to give the ACC credit for scheduling this game early in the season because it allows the team that loses this game to still have time to recover and position themselves for a top 4 spot in the playoff if they can make it to Charlotte. So, I have ripped the ACC up and down numerous times. I have, look, there is no love lost between me and the ACC, okay? I think, Clemson needs out. I will give them credit for scheduling this game the way that they did because it does allow these 2 teams to, absorb a loss as long as it's close, as long as it's not, a Jameis Winston kind of blowout and still make it to where these teams want to be.
And it gives you the potential for a rematch in Charlotte. And, best case scenario, Clemson wins 1, Florida State wins 1, both of them sitting there with 1 loss, and you find your way to get both of them into the playoff. I mean, best case scenario. Yeah, I agree. I think they did I think that was smart to set this game up early in the season there in September. You hope you get a rematch there in Charlotte because obviously most people think these are the 2 best teams. I mean, I know it sounds like we're trashing on Florida State, and that's not really what I'm trying to do. My point is, I don't think they're back yet. Even Jared Verse was saying in Charlotte last week, hey, we're not back yet, man. We still got a lot to prove.
Texas is, though.
Texas is always back. And those comments from Jared Verse were, they caught my ear. They caught my attention. They still have to prove it to themselves, and that's kind of where I'm at. I want to see it. I just want to see it. Florida State's been down for a little while, and I want to see it before I'm going to say, hey, man, they're back.
Yeah. And so, kind of wrapping up our Player of the Year talk, Jordan Travis, you heard from him last week, just give us your kind of bird's eye view of why you picked him.
I picked him because he's so dynamic. That was really the first time I've ever been around him, and I really only caught the tail end of him live there in the breakout room. But he's got that day he seemed to have a very low key demeanor. He was just very cool, calm, collective.
Kind of like a DJ Unagale.
Yeah,
I
not similar, but off the field, similar maybe type personalities. Not so much on the field, but he's so dynamic, and he's got so much experience now, and he's got some weapons to work with, man. Again, I think Florida State's going to have a good season. I'm not saying they're going to have a bad team. I do think it's possible they could get it in September and be 2-2 because I think LSU is going to be good too. And I know Florida State beat them last year, but that game was way closer than it should have been. They should have curb stomped LSU that night, and they had to hold on for dear life at the end. But again, I think Florida State's a 10-win team. I think Clemson's a 10-win team. I think this is going to be a dogfight in the ACC.
Yeah, and kind of like you, I think for me it was his dynamic play. Honestly, there is not another player in the league that scares you every time he has the ball the way that Jordan Travis does. I mean, you can think back to the Florida game. He had a scramble in that game that, was just crazy to watch. Where it looks like he's sacked, he runs around, and he has the escapability that you look for in just a winner. He's a guy that loves to compete. He went out there last year, and look, the entire country was rooting against him because Florida State had the UCF quarterback who had come back after a nasty knee injury. And every single person in the country wanted to just see him play. And all Jordan Travis did was go out there and win the job. So he is a winner, and he is my player of the year. Now,
he's just so dynamic. He can beat you in multiple ways. He's got the arm. He can beat you with his legs. And they did a lot to address some things. Give him some more weapons to work with this year. They went and got a receiver or two out of the portal. I think they're going to be really good. I just don't think it's a given. I just don't think they're top 5.
Yeah. John Brown says if our already proven defense holds up and revamped offense improves, should not. I think we should not have any trouble with FSU the rest of the schedule. I disagree with that on so many levels, simply because FSU is going to be a problem for a lot of teams, and including Clemson. Look, this is the 3rd game of the season? Fourth game?
4th.
Yeah. And so if you think this offense is going to be clicking on all cylinders the way it will in week 8, 9, 10, 11, after Garrett Riley has only been here for a spring and summer and fall, you're crazy. I hate to keep bringing up, but think back to Chad Morris's first year. And, the team was actually booed off the field at halftime against, I believe it was Troy.
I think it was Troy.
And so, if you think this offense is going to be clicking like a finely tuned machine in game 4, you have more faith than I. Now, the defense, you could make a case for the defense holding up. However, the secondary, like we said in our last live show at Dockside, I said the secondary is in show me state. They are used and abused last year, and if you go into that game and you have any kind of fuss or any kind of miscommunication, then you're going to find yourself in a dogfight.
Yeah, I agree, man. I think Clemson's got some questions too. For me, the biggest thing is how fast you touched on it, how fast they can get that offense clicking. It's not likely to be rolling on all cylinders in week one. Fortunately, they've got a couple of tune-up games there the first 3 weeks, but unfortunately, they don't have one to open the season. They got to go to Duke. That's a team that returns 17 starters. That's not going to be a cakewalk.
Yeah, it seems like I remember somebody our last show saying don't sleep on the Blue Devils.
Yeah, I think that game's going to be more competitive than some fans think. Maybe you come out of that thing and you might have people ready to jump off a cliff because Clemson is not your typical Duke team, and Clemson doesn't curb stomp them the way they think they should. But now you got 3 weeks to get that thing rolling before Florida State rolls into town. But for me, the biggest thing with Clemson, other than how long it takes the offense to fully gel, is can you keep those wide receivers healthy? You got to keep those guys healthy, man. If you don't, you're in trouble. If you can't keep Bo Collins healthy and Adam Randall healthy, you don't have a whole lot of experienced depth behind those guys. I think there's some talent there. There's not much experience. You need your starters to stay healthy at wide receiver, and Clemson's had issues keeping those guys healthy. And the third thing is you need those guys on the back end of the defense to stay healthy. Clemson's had some issues at injury with their secondary. Mostly last year, we saw some of those young guys grow up in a hurry on the field. The injury bug, for as much as Clemson avoided it during that playoff run, it's kind of come back to haunt them the past couple of years. And it's something they've got to keep some of these guys healthy. Got to, especially those wide receivers.
Yeah. I was going to say, Kate Klubnik cannot afford to have the receiving corps from Seneca High School out there like he did at times last year. I mean, shoot, the Orangeville, I think, two of his stars were Daniel High School grads. I mean, and look, that's not saying anything against those guys, but it's the talent gap. If you're going to go out there and you're going to compete with the likes of FSU, the likes of Notre Dame, the likes of Georgia, the likes of Ohio State, Alabama, I mean, you can't do it with subpar skill level. And so, that to me is the reason that I don't see this team really having a cakewalk through any game, is because, like Jason said, they haven't been able to keep these guys healthy. So, what gives you any reason to think that that's going to change this year? Health is the biggest unknown and the biggest factor to a team being able to make a run into the playoffs.
And you absolutely got to keep your quarterback healthy. I should have said that first and foremost. That's obvious for most teams.
Oh, come on, Jason. I know you love you some.
But, yeah, you killed it there, man. They've got to stay healthy. First, it starts with those wide receivers. You need playmakers outside for Kate Klubnik to throw the ball to. And I think I watched Adam Randall in high school. I know what he can be when he's fully healthy. I think he can be a monster. But if he's on the sideline injured, it's not doing you any good. I think Bo Collins has the skill set. I think he's got the skill set to take that next step in his development. I think he's obviously got to stay healthy. I think he's just got to want it. If he wants it, I think he can be as good as he wants to be. He's flashed it. He's shown instances of his talent. He's got to be more consistent. They got some dudes at wide receiver. They just got to stay healthy, and they've not been able to do that past 2 years.
Yeah. So speaking of that, I mean, how big of a factor is it that Taylor decided to not return. I see that as a huge loss. He was that shifty guy that could, run the jet sweeps. He really started coming to his own last year. You know, and to me, Dow, he honestly he didn't, say as much as I thought he would. That it was a loss for this team. He said that he kind of expected, he appreciated, everything that Will Taylor had given to the Tigers. You could kind of see in his eyes a little bit that there was a little bit of, dang, I wish we had this kid because he could have been special.
Yeah, I think they saw something in Will Taylor, and they saw something they thought that he can make an impact on this offense. Those injuries just set. He came in as a quarterback in high school, was at quarterback his first year at Clemson, then had to start learning the intricacies of having to play wide receiver, which isn't easy. Injuries kept him from really being able to do that. Finally started getting healthy towards the end of last year and was really start working on his craft. He could have had an impact on that on this offense this year because, again, they saw something in him that they thought he could be a productive wide receiver at this level. With him gone, I mentioned to see what kind of impact this freshman from Greenville, Tyler Brown, has. He's a smaller kid, extremely fast. He's dynamic. Didn't enroll early, so he's going to have a lot to learn in a short amount of time. But I think he's a guy that might get some opportunities in those kind of situations.
Yeah, Tyler Grisham, spoke highly of him. And so, for me, they have to find that side guy, the little H in the new scheme that can run the jet sweeps, that can really put pressure on linebackers and safeties and hold them. I will say this: a guy that I believe is going to have a massive year for the Tigers. Actually, I named him my tight end of the year in the ACC. I'll tell you, where I'm going with this. Jake Rainstorm. He is going to have a monster year, a killer year. I mean, honestly, I haven't been this excited about a tight end since Jordan Leggett. I mean, he is a guy that I believe can cause serious issues for defenses, for linebackers, for safeties. And really all you have to do is talk to Garrett Riley and ask him about him, and his eyes get, big, and he gets a big smile on his face. So I really believe that Jake Green is going to have an all ACC type year, and he could be the secret weapon that few people are talking about.
He is going to be one of the biggest benefactors of Garrett Riley coming in here and running this offense. For the past, I don't know how many years since Jordan Leggett left, we've heard the coaching staff, the offensive coaches talk, we're going to use the tight ends more. We're going to use the tight ends more. And maybe they started using them a little bit more with Davis Allen, but not to the level at which we saw, when Leggett was here and guys like Dwayne Allen. And I think Brenningstool is that kind of guy. You could line him up wide. Yeah, I mean, he's a big target. He can stretch the field. He is a matchup nightmare. You can line him. You can split him out wide. You can bring him back inside. You don't have to take him off the field when you're running. I just think he is going to benefit greatly from this change at offensive coordinator and this new offense. He's going to be a key piece on the offense this year.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you mentioned Davis Allen. The issue with him is he started out his career at Clemson as, the kind of run blocking guy. He, guy in the game, you almost always knew it was a run. He morphed into a threat to catch the ball, he was still like, what's the right way to say it? He didn't have the flow and the finesse and the speed and just the pure pass catching ability that Jake Greenstill did.
He's not as dynamic.
Yeah, that's the word. Yeah, and see the issue with Greenstill was he was the opposite island. I mean, he came, he had to learn how to do the nasty stuff. He had to learn how to mix it up in the box and do the run blocking, do the stuff that nobody really praises you for on the spectators watching you don't say, "Oh my God, did you see that block that the tight end just did?" He had to learn to love that stuff, and I think he has. You talk to Kyle Richardson, and he mentions how he has bought into his body and eating right, and just taking care of himself. And so for me, that says that he is key to have a huge year. And if he has the type of year that I'm thinking about, this offense is going to be incredibly, incredibly fun to watch.
Could not agree more. I think he is going to. Yeah, I'm like you. I had him. I put him as the first team All ACC or whatever. I had him at the top of the list. I think he's going to be a key ingredient of this revamped offense. There are just a lot of different ways a lot of different things you can do with him, and he is. You get him out there one-on-one with some of these linebackers in the ACC, and it's just it's a matchup nightmare.
Yeah. So since we kind of hit on our ACC players of the year, let's kind of just give the people a little bit of an idea of how we cast our ballots. So obviously Jordan Travis is our quarterback. For your running back, who did you have?
At running back?
Yeah.
Will Shipley.
All right. So I had Shipley and Henry Harris Jr.
You what?
I had Shipley and Henry Harris Jr.
I had Shipley and the guy from Florida State. What's his name?
Oh yeah.
Cannot think of his name.
Neither can I. I will say this: at wide receiver, my number one guy is number 0, Antonio Williams. I think the year that he had last year for these hires and the accolades and stuff, he has not let them go to his head. When you have a coach say that he has gained weight and gotten faster, that is a scary ass combination right there. And that is exactly what the coaching staff has said about Antonio Williams, is that he has not only gotten bigger and stronger this offseason, he has gained speed. And that is scary for a guy that is already super fast.
Yeah, I put Antonio first team, and I think it was Keon Coleman, first team All ACC from Florida State.
Yeah, I had him as well. Yeah. And so, Trey Benson is your.
That's him. I debated over the two guys at Florida State, Johnny Wilson and Keon Coleman, and ended up going with Coleman.
Yeah.
I think those wide receivers at Florida State going to have big years.
Yeah. Yes, they are. And let's go ahead and skip down. Honestly, the offensive tackles, offensive guards, the centers, That is the biggest joke of anything I've ever seen. Asking a group of media guys to, name the offensive tackle of the year. Hell, honestly, I just picked guys from Pittsburgh and BC because they're generally fat, and nasty guys who like to run the ball. I mean, and out of guard, I gave Marcus Tate an eye, and then center, I gave Will Putnam the eye. That is why this stuff from the ACC is honestly a joke. I mean, you're asking us guys who cover single teams, most of the year, to pick from a list of offensive tackles. Now, I will say this defensive end was an easy choice for me. Xavier Thomas. This guy is going to have a monster year. I mean, have you seen the photos that he sent out on his tour?
Oh, he looks extremely good.
He is nasty.
I think he's going to have a big year. I think he is going to have a humongous year. That kid, if there's anybody that deserves a break, it's that kid. He has just had the worst luck the past 2-3 years. It's time he catches a break. He's going to stay healthy this year, and he is going to help his draft stock tremendously.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Defensive tackle. I have your favorite and mine, the best interview in the Clemson beat, Mr. Tyler Davis.
Me too.
And Ruka.
That's what I did. Both Clemson guys at tackle.
I like it. Linebacker, Barry Carr, and then Tatum Bethune from FSU, and Peyton Wilson.
I went with Carter, Trotter, and Wilson.
I
think.
All right. And cornerback, I went with Sheridan Jones and Nate Wiggins. Which look, honestly, as I was filling this out, I thought, geez, for as much crap as I'm getting in the secondary, here I am putting two of Clemson's guys on the first team All ACC ballot. I mean, yeah.
I went with Nate Wiggins and Aiden White, North Carolina State.
Oh yeah. Safety, I have Mickens and McCoo.
I did the same thing.
I like it.
I think McCoo was in store for a big bounce back year. Now he's fully healthy, focusing entirely on safety.
Absolutely. Place kicker, I have E.T. Power and Greg Hill.
You know what? I can't even remember who I put at place kicker.
Yeah. Honestly, here's the thing. All right, so for place kicker and punter, I literally just pick the guys that are like graduate seniors or fifth year guys, because I figure, hell, they've been here the longest time. They deserve a little love. Because
I cannot remember. I might have took the dude from Miami. I can't remember, the one with the weird last name.
Oh, is he the Australian guy? The guy that have the tats and stuff?
I don't know what he looks like. Andres Borregales or something like that. I think that's who I picked for kicker because I couldn't decide. The last couple of years it's been easy. I went with BT Potter, but he's no longer around. So
yeah, you just kind of went chalk the last couple of years. But the thing is, as you start to dive into this stuff, it's all fun. These preseason watch lists. Clemson. Will Shipley was named to the Maxwell list, and then I believe that. Let's see here, Rook and who was it? Tyler Davis, I believe, are named to the Outland or one of those lists today. But this is all fun stuff. But it honestly, it's like Steve Sir used to say, this is all talking season stuff, and it gives us something to talk about and discuss. The real proof will come, here in, let's see, 25 days when teams actually take the field. So, that is what we have to look forward to coming up.
Yeah, I usually tend to probably overthink picking these, all ACC preseason players. It probably took me an hour the other night because I was having to research guys. Because, like you said,
oh,
yeah,
come on, yeah. I mean, you're sitting there looking at offensive tackle stats from last season. Hey, let's see how many pancake blocks did he have?
Because we see Clemson week after week after week. We don't get to watch all these other ACC teams every week.
Yeah, thank God.
It took me an hour to do it.
Watch. I mean, you telling me that you enjoy covering the Syracuse Orange?
No. Hey, Garrett Schrader was fun the other day.
Yes, he was. He's always good. I like him.
Confident guy. Guy.
Yes, he is.
But that's what you want in your quarterback, man.
Yeah, you don't want a quarterback to come out and say, hey, I'm excited about playing Clemson. Hope we get our ass kicked. I mean,
that's exactly right. You want him to have confidence they're going to come in there and win.
Yeah, until he meets XT like Eric Dungy did. That's still, honestly, that is the loudest roar I have heard. They actually made the overtime game against Miami in, when was that, 2003, I think? Yeah. That was the last I think I've ever heard that stadium.
I wasn't there that day. I watched that one on television, so I don't know. I was there in 2003 though. That place was kicking. It was loud.
Yes, it was. Well, listen, I thank you so much for joining us today. As always, do us a favor, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, everywhere else. Jason, this was fun for our first episode, brother.
Yeah. Now we get to go do Carline.
Oh, yeah.
From way up, from high to low.
Yeah, that's right. For Jason, I am Zach. Thanks so much for joining us for the inaugural edition of Clemson Radio. We'll be back and do it again tomorrow. For Jason, I am Zach. Y'all have a great day.